The question I want to discuss on this short video is, when did Yakov bless his grandchildren, the children of Yosef? Now, one might assume that since Yosef had those children during the years of plenty, the 7 years of plenty, and then since Yakov came to Egypt only in the second year of hunger, so these children must have been certainly more than 2 years old, may have been close to 8 years old by then, 7 years old. And then for 17 years Yaakov lived in Egypt, and at the very end of his life he blessed Yosef's children. Therefore they must have been over 20, or certainly close to 20 at the very least. The problem is that it doesn't look from the simple pshat of the story here that they were that old. It sounds like they were between his knees, they were small. There's a famous Rembrandt painting where Yakov is blessing his 2 grandchildren and they're small children. And it does have, it is the impression you get from reading the chapter. So I saw a very interesting explanation in the writings of a known Israeli rabbi, Rabbi Elchanan Samet. He claims that this is one of those cases where the Torah is not following chronological order. We know there are plenty of places where the Torah does not follow chronological order. Chazal already discussed it. There are cases when the Torah openly says about some later chapter that it happened in the particular year, so in particular month. You could see that it happened before the chapter that was written earlier. So the Torah is definitely not always following chronological order. But there is dispute if we could on our own decide that certain passages are not in chronological order. Ibn Ezra does this all the time, and certain other sages do that. And sometimes in Chazal you also find that certain verses may be not in chronological order, even when there is no explicit proof from the Torah. But there is a possibility like that. So Rav Samet offers a possibility. If you read in the previous chapter the 2 verses where Yaakov first meets Yosef, and he says that I wasn't even hoping for this, he's so happy, he's ready to die now that he saw Yosef, he has everything. And then claims Rav Samet, chronologically, that's when the verses in our chapter, 40th chapter in Parshat Veichi, from 8th till 20th verse, he then sees the grandchildren of his, the children of Yosef, and he says, I didn't even know I would see you, and here Hashem allowed me to see your children. And right, he first asks, who are these? By the way, this explains why he's asking this question. What, he didn't know who these are? Rav Samet says, yes, these are the first time he meets them. Who are these? And Yosef says, that's my children who were born here. And Yaakov answers, I didn't even hope to see you, and here I see your grandchildren, your children, my grandchildren. So he blesses them, and after this, the Torah continues with that story that happened in the last year, meaning the Torah kind of puts together, juxtaposes the blessing of Yosef's children, which happened 17 years earlier, together with a story when Yaakov is telling Yosef at the end of his life that he gives him the privilege of the firstborn, that is, that his 2 children will be considered like 2 separate tribes. He's getting a double portion in a certain sense. According to Rembrandt, it actually meant even physically that the 2 tribes of Ephraim and Menashe got more territory, more land than the other tribes, meaning each of them got a separate territory. According to Rashi, there was no real difference in terms of the physical land portions, but at any rate, they were considered 2 separate tribes. So when Yaakov wanted at the end of his life to grant Yosef's children the status of his own children, Ephraim and Menashe, Reuben and Shimon, right? Ephraim and Menashe will be to me like Reuben and Shimon. The gematria, by the way, of Ephraim and Menashe is almost identical. I think there's a difference of 1 as Reuben and Shimon. So when he did that, the Torah also puts the blessing that he gave his grandchildren, which was given actually 17 years earlier, according to Rav Samet. That's when the Torah puts this blessing, and it's not in chronological order. So I wanted to just bring this to your attention because I think it's a very interesting idea and a very unusual, novel interpretation. And if you like this video, please press like and please subscribe to our channel.